I thought I would make this video because I get asked quite a lot of times about all the specs of my little Inductrix, the one that I've modded that you're seeing right now. Well, I think I'll go through it with you right now. It's in a SOS-X V3 130mm carbon fibre frame, which I'm sorry to say they do not do anymore, because the guy that used to make them doesn't do them, and as far as I know, he'd moved on to working with a big manufacturing company. So anyway, let's have a look and I'll show you what's inside and how I've wired everything up, and how I've made it work for me. Okay, right, well, here we go. Right, as you can see, there's a Inductrix board itself. What I had to do was, I've had to change the wiring to thicker gauge wire. It's 20 gauge or 22 gauge wire, if I can remember right, that I had to use, and I actually changed the plug to microDIN. For that, I've also had to change the plugs on my battery, of course. The reason I'm using the Inductrix is because it's got a very high C rating, and you want a very high C rating with this quad because I'm running 8.5mm motors, and not only that, a 200mW VTX with a 600 TVL camera on it, and the CL antenna. Now, to get all this running, a couple of people have said that when they've tried to use the Inductrix board and the 8.5mm motors, that it would just cut out. Now, I think I know one of the reasons is because they've attached the camera to the board, and basically the camera is pulling a lot of juice from the battery. It's not feeding the board enough to feed the motors, and it's cutting it out. So what you'll need to get is a Pololu regulator. I've got an adjustable regulator, and I set the voltage for the regulator to 3.9 to the 200mW VTX, which also runs 3.9 to the camera, 3.9 volts, and that stops it from suddenly just dropping out of the sky. And with the Nanotech 600 mAh, you'll get probably 5 minutes of flight time. Now, it's quite a heavy quad with all this on it, but I can tell you one thing, it is really still fast. You know, this is one of my favourite mini brush quads. It really is. And the reason why I've got a little bit of foam here is, once I've put the top shell on, what I've noticed, if I don't have some, there's a little casing on the VTX. You can see that silver casing there. Now, I found with this VTX is when it starts running, the motors cause vibration, and you start getting in little white lines through your video feed. So what I've done is I put a little bit of foam on there, and once I put the top part of the quad on, it actually pushes against the top plate of the VTX, and it stops any vibrations, and I get a nice clear signal with the quad. You know, so that is basically my little Inductrix 130mm build. I mean, it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but you must change the wires for your battery to a thicker gauge wire, and I would recommend, highly recommend, the DINs over the JST plug, because it just doesn't pull enough amps at all. Okay, and like I said, if you're going to put the 200mW VTX on, get the regulator, adjust it down to 3.9, is the sweet spot that I've found to the camera, and that should do the job. I have other ones here now. This is another one. This is the 110 Wasp. It's basically the same with 8.5mm motors, sorry, and a 200mW VTEC. But let me just show you. That regulator on there is not an adjustable regulator. It's only a 5V regulator. And the problem with it is that does cause this quad to every now and again drop out the sky. Now that's why I know by adjusting the voltage that it will stop that, but I haven't flown this one in a while because I've been busy flying other quadcopters and I haven't get round to buying another regulator, so I've just left it sitting in the box for just now, or when I get it fixed. But like I said, it still flies. I might let my son learn some FPV on this one, but that's another one. It's basically the same, you know, everything's the same. It's set for putting a smaller frame, and this thing flies real fast because it's a lot lighter. And you can also, if you want to, use the parrot frame. But I don't have an Inductrix board in this at the moment. I have a Blade Nano QX board in it at the moment, which my son was using, and he accidentally why are we going out of focus? He accidentally landed upside down and all the propellers get jammed, and before I had a chance to say bring it over to me so I can check it, he tried to fly it again, and I think he burnt the motors out. Hopefully not the fit, but I'll need to fix that out. But we'll get back to the main one. Like I said, you will need a high C rating battery. If you don't get a high C rating battery and you do not change those wires to the board, it's just going to drop out. And if you don't get that voltage regulator, it's just going to drop out as well. I mean, if you have a look at some of my videos of how this flies, you'll see how stable, how fast, how agile, and how much fun I have with it. And I've crashed it and crashed it and crashed it, and it's still in one piece. I hope I never ever break this frame because it's one of my favourites, and they don't make them anymore, and I'm really sad about that. And when it does, if it ever does break, I'm sure I'll just probably use the little Wasp frame, but I like this one so much. I can put so much in it. It flies so much better. I mean, it is a lot heavier, but I don't know, I just like it. I like the way it kind of, I don't know, it just does something that just makes it fly better, you know? And I can get a lot of speed out of it. So if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see what kind of speed I'm talking about. Anyway, I hope some of this information I've shared with you has helped you. And now you know how I've set my little Inductrix up. Okay, so thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy flying.